Welcome to the Believe in Your Office podcast, sponsored by Boomerang and Common Sense Office Furniture, the podcast where we explore what makes workplaces work. Every episode features candid conversations with leaders, business professionals, and workplace experts who've been in the trenches. They share the real stories, the wins, the failures, and the lessons learned about culture, teamwork, and leadership that actually matter. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome to another Believe in Your Office podcast. I'm your host, Josh Smargiassi, where we're dedicated to exploring the evolving world of office culture, teamwork, and leadership. Whether you're leading a team, navigating workplace challenges, or trying to create a culture where people thrive, this show is your go-to resource. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Matt Grace from Ready for Real Estate podcast, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about office culture and real estate and everything that Matt's kind of involved in. And welcome, Matt.
Oh, good morning, Josh. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on the show
Oh,
with me.
hey, it's a pleasure. I'm always loving to talk real estate, leadership, everything in between. So,
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing, what you're doing, how's real estate these days?
oh, great. So I will. So, as a background, and I always mention this is I am a close to 20-year government employee dealing with personal property out of the Philly market. So I get to see that end of it ebb and flow, and especially now with everything going on with from government reopening to downshift in market space and market work force to my other life as a realtor and property management software owner of seeing how people are managing their portfolios, managing their knowledge content to make sure that in this ever changing culture today that they are on top of everything. So there's always, and lately there's been changes to anywhere from lease agreements to sale agreements to rental agreements that makes being on top of things advantageous for the office person. So I'm coming from years of being in the office, then years of being at home, away from the office, and now I'm back in the office. So I've seen it all in my experience, Josh. So
Yeah, you mentioned that you were back you're kind of working from home now.
mhm.
And what do you think? Do you like either one better? Would you rather, are there benefits from working at home versus being in the office, or which one do you like better, personally?
Personally, I've always felt having a home base for two things. One for home and family and your downtime, and then also your work base being that worker, your different persona. So yeah, I much rather work from an office because it's all mindset, it's all production, it's who you are. So we throughout the day I consider us actors. And so I'm acting my professional piece. I am the property custodian. I am the property management person. I am the realtor on that end. As soon as I get home, I'm the husband, the dad, the pet owner, the dog walker, the bill payer, all that too. So it gets too much, and the body gets beat up when it doesn't know what act it's in. And so when it gets all jumbled, and I often think the work from home piece is almost as a scam because the body or the person doesn't know when to shut off that business persona. So they could be doing two things at once, eating a meal and doing work or replying to emails. That puts so much stress onto your body that
Yeah.
it comes out in other ways. And
I,
so,
I have so many thoughts that are going through my head at the same time. I just because you made so many great comments. I think I can't agree more with you. I think prior to COVID, And prior to me being an owner of Boomerang and Common Sense, I
Yep.
was in commercial mortgages. So I would sell
Mhm.
mortgages to, brokers, and then they would bring them to just people who were looking for rates. And that job was work from home, or the office from like 9 to 10, then go out on appointments and then come back and work at a home base. And I think that that was kind of what remote work used to be, right? You had a salesperson who was traveling and was doing
Yep.
things and then reporting back to the office or couldn't make it back to the office. So they had an office set up in their house. And then post COVID, it became almost like a little bit of a crutch that, well, I can just kind of stay in the office. And it was kind of confusing to your brain because it's like, well, I'm working from home, but am I working or am I at home? And if the kids come home or the dog needs to be walked, like, can I do that? Well, when you were in the office, you would never have done that in the past, right? But now you're able to do that. So is it beneficial for you or for the company? And we're just seeing all those conversations have, and it's interesting with your government background. We're doing a lot of work for the government in Philadelphia right now, and
Yep.
there's this really strong push for coming back to the office. I'm sure that you could speak to,
Yep.
and I think that is, it goes to a whole nother level because the people that I've spoken to about this, it's not about just being in the office. It's about really supporting your city. Right? Because if
Yep.
you're in the office, your city is going to thrive. When no one's there, who's buying lunches, who's using the food trucks, who's using the shoe polisher, who's using the dry cleaner, who's going to the convenience store, who's going to the little, odds and end stores, and who's paying for parking, and who's getting the tolls, and who's getting the, taxes that come from all that revenue that help your city really grow and
Right.
thrive or sustain. And I think Cheryl Parker, you know, love her or hate her, I don't have an opinion politically. I'm just saying I think that she's done a great job in really bringing the city back to life by going to all the businesses in the city and saying, guys, we're in it together as a team and we need to be in the office to make the city better. And we're
Yep.
not just going to, say it, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and bring everyone back to the office so that you guys are also doing that so that our city now has life and vibrancy in the office. And now, the lunches turn into happy hours that turn into dinners that turn into, people hanging out and now our city is back to life. So I think there's a lot of angles you can go with that. And I don't know if you had anything you wanted to touch on with your experiences within that realm as well.
You bring up all great points. Exactly. So one of the areas that we concentrate on real estate wise was the parking lots. So we had a couple parking lots under our control down in Center City, and then we saw this coming and dealing with the city as as big as it is. It's even bigger in its issues, and so they move real slow, and they're it's expensive to do business with the city,
Yeah.
and it needs people down there to churn the tax base. And one of the things people don't realize is that the 10-year tax abatements eroded the tax base, so you don't
Right.
have that extra um, tax revenue coming in, so they need to find it in other ways, as in sales tax on the mom and pop stores, the luncheonette,
Right.
and
Having the people in the office will give you a tax abatement because you have 8,000 people in this building. If they're all
right,
here, we're going to make more money in tax revenue than just taxing you.
yeah,
So we'll give you a break because we would love to have this many people in our city. But then
yes,
that all went away when everyone was working from home, and it was like, hey, this is great, and all the arguments were a technology company or we're
mhm,
web based. That's great, but you still, I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole and everything with AI and
yeah,
everything else, but I mean, you still need to have human interaction. I think that's what it comes down to.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, one of the things too, and you hear it a lot in the government, it's called hoteling,
Mhm.
where all right, we'll give you the best of both worlds. Come in 2 days a week, stay home 3 days a week. However, you don't have a home base the in the building, so you don't have a set area of sitting. So you bring in everything and you take home everything. So as in the old times pre-COVID, as I can say, I had my own cubicle, which I had pictures set up. I had calendars set up. I had, and so on top of tools, there are also morale boosters. So I also had like tea bags and coffee and my own cups and stuff. So it was less. Um, I made the space my own. So that way, it wasn't always thinking, am I in or am I out? So same thing happened at home. So it kind of reversed it, as in, all right, so now I'm home. I'm among my coffee cups, my snacks, all that fun stuff. But it took away the morale of the office work. And so it made people less friendly. You didn't know who was sitting next to you every day.
The water cooler.
Less,
You missed the water cooler.
yeah,
It was more. Do you know how many conversations I'm sure you could remember many in your time working in an office where I've had so many great conversations at a water cooler. And it's not just about work, it's also how you get to know
about
people,
life.
right?
Yeah,
It's like, hey, how are you today? Well, you know what? I had a really busy weekend. I had three hockey games and we had two soccer games and we went to a great dinner and then I had a birthday party. And you're like, wow, you were really busy. Or hey, I didn't feel so good
yeah,
this weekend. And then you get to know the person's mindset, your colleague or your client,
yeah,
whoever's there, to be able to kind of react differently or be more human in an interaction than just kind of
yeah,
robotic, which is what these screens have kind of,
yeah,
implemented, like where you're just more robotic. And it's, even in meetings, and I was going to bring this up is when you go to meetings, you know, think of the difference in sitting around a table with somebody
yeah,
versus sitting in a computer screen, right? Like there's so
yeah.
many good jokes and memes. I don't know if you've seen them, all on the internet where,
Oh, yeah,
someone's sitting there and but you want to interrupt somebody, but then you don't know if you can or where it's coming from. And then it's like you wait for someone to respond. And then by the time they respond, that doesn't happen in person, right? Because you're looking at inflection, you're seeing what's going on, you're talking to people. And those things are just the things that I think are really beneficial to just the culture of building the company that you're trying to build or working in the government
right.
culture or working in any culture and being in the office is a really big part of that.
I totally agree. And just to add on to that, it's all about the the experience knowledge too that trickles down from the old timers. At one time, the old timers were the newcomers, and the
Right.
newcomers become the old timers.
Yeah.
But if you're all working at home, where does that knowledge go to? It
Right.
doesn't trickle down anymore because they're working at home. They're their phones off. But
They don't
I,
get to hear the conversations that you're
mhm,
having because I learned by eavesdropping. Quite honestly, there's no better way to
yep,
put it. The senior salesperson's there talking. I go, oh, that was a good way
yep,
to put that. You don't have that when
exactly.
you're sitting in your office getting your work done. I'm not saying people aren't working. I think people have a misconception. I'm not saying that because you're home, you're not working. I'm saying that there's all these little fringe benefits that really are great
Oh
that
yeah.
we, gotta recognize.
I'm thinking on it. I think I learned almost as much standing in the line, uh, getting a coffee with an old timer, than actually sitting in a cubicle listening to them. It's all
100%.
about that absorption, like you said, the eavesdropping of the experience, how they handle people, what people they stay away from. It's all of that. It's their years uh, is your benefit. So,
Yeah, and you get a lot of benefit from it. I mean, frankly,
huh,
you have a problem and you just are voicing it out loud for anyone
mhm,
to hear. A lot of
right,
times someone has a solution, right?
yeah,
And there's okay, hey, I heard that you were talking about this. Did you think about going this angle with it? Or hey,
right,
did you think about doing this product instead? It's a lot cheaper. Or, I've walked in as the, manager of the office going, what did you just say? And they go, oh, well, we got to order this piece. And I go, I'm pretty sure that that's a different, manufacturer that you guys are confusing jobs. They go, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. And it's like all
yeah.
those things that are like so valuable that you could never quantify in a chart or never quantify in analytics are really what we're talking about. I think a lot of people, obviously owning a commercial furniture company that, sells furniture to everybody, it would be more beneficial for everyone to be in the office. But I think it is a fascinating subject for everyone to kind of understand because it goes so many deeper levels from community development and protecting your city to, how healthy you are as a human being and how your interactions occur versus based off of just the computer and the internet.
Yes. Yeah. And the workforce is turning into a cold block set area. What you put in is what you get, and there's no warmth to it. There's no incentives. There's no feeling like you belong.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
I think it's interesting, speaking, as we become the old timers, as
yep,
you so blatantly said, which was great, poetically said. I mean, the I talk to the younger generation when they come in and they really want to learn and they want to be a part of what you're doing. They go, I don't really, think about it. I mean, you get your first job, it's really exciting. You come out of college and
yeah,
you're like, I'm going to get a job. And now it's like, yeah, you got a job, work in your mom's basement or your bedroom because look, all of us, including me, you don't get a house
yep,
when you graduate, right? Usually you kind of spend some time at home if you're lucky. If you have to get an apartment because you happen to move locations, that's fine. But wherever you are, it's usually meager beginnings, right? You're going to be
yes,
in a spot where you're just kind of starting out. And it's
mhm.
really exciting to go to the spot where you walk in and, your boss is driving a
Oh,
nice
yeah,
car and wearing nice clothes and talking in a certain way and, affording things in a different way that you afford them, both financially and
yep,
socially, right? And you go, okay, well, how do I do that? And that's cool and that's exciting. And when I speak to the new generation of people coming in the office, they like it, right? And they want to be a part of that. And I think that that's important to recognize moving forward because even for you, Matt, that is such a big player on real estate and then the economy, right? I mean, that's going to drive the future of the country, really. I mean, we need to protect those things, and this all kind of trickles down.
yes, yeah. I agree. You hit on some really great points that I really do think the office will always play that part of the meeting spot, the idea generation, the camaraderie, the morale. Morale is huge, and even the sick days. So
Right.
the two things that really damage a workforce is low morale and sick days. And going back to the hoteling part, if I work in the office and I'm have a cold on a Monday, and then you come in and didn't know I was sitting there, guess who's going to have a cold by the end of the week? That's you. That's going to
Right.
be you. So
Right. That's
now
also a
it's
benefit of working from home. Like you can still work when you're sick,
yeah,
right? You just stay
hmm
home. And
yeah,
that's a benefit. That's one I would put in the plus column, you
yep,
know. And like you said, why would you want to come in? I mean, I had it last week in our office. We had a team member that really wanted to work, and she said,
yep,
I feel like I want to work. I don't want to miss out. I have these meetings. I say, it's fine. We'll create a link on Zoom or Teams, and we'll include you in the meeting. Now,
yeah,
it was funny because it didn't feel the same, right? But you were still able to participate.
yeah,
So I know you have a lot of experience in and out of the office.
mhm,
if you were to kind of like, talk to someone who was just building an office or looking to get people back in the office, is there anything that you would tell them that, you should have these things or take these things into consideration when talking to your staff or your, company, your employees about how, this is what would really get them to come in, or this is what makes me feel comfortable. You kind of touched on some of the things where you said, hey, I have my own coffee cup and I have my tea bags and I had
yep.
the snacks and things. Is there anything that it comes to mind that that you want to elaborate on that says, hey, this would really make me more comfortable to want to come there every day?
Sure. So breakout rooms, technology, as in being able to connect anywhere in the world. Also, I like to call it like shutdown rooms where you're able to go off and work on things by yourself because sometimes you do need that solitude to really get your thoughts out in a linear fashion, be able
Hmm.
to complete what you're doing. Really
Hmm.
kind of soft um, type of furniture, of amenities where people feel like almost I always kid, but people can take a nap in their workforce.
I was going to say it.
Workplace.
We
Yeah,
actually sell nap pods now.
yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Uh, a
Listen,
comfortable
if you talk to
kitchen. Yeah.
it's making it comfortable, and if you talk if you talk to people like nutritionists or trainers, there's a natural circadian rhythm that if
Yes.
you do follow it, it helps you live longer. And I think that there needs to be a work-life balance, right? So if I'm giving you
Yeah.
an hour for lunch and you happen to take a half hour, and at another point during the day you
Yeah.
take a half hour to just go take a snooze to get recharged.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that, right? In the old days, the old timers that you and I know might have been like, "What are you doing? You're sleeping at work, right?" But now that stuff is a little bit more widely accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. It's accepted around the world. Just the Americans just seem to play out through the day. But
Great point. That's a great
yeah.
point.
And
No,
and
that's
so and I would be open for input. I sat on a few teams where we moved whole agencies over from one lease to the next, just in buildings only blocks apart, and that was a lot of the selling points there. You don't have to go for the full gym, but access to fitness or some sort of stress relieving duties, shutdown areas, good kitchens,
yeah.
areas just to chat, just
Yep.
to interact. So
Hmm.
high tabletop tables.
You've hit
Uh,
on all of them. I mean, that's things
yeah,
we talk about every single day. I just had a meeting before this
yeah,
podcast, and I mean, we talk about that as well. You bring up a really great point, and a lot of times the people who are making the decisions for the office are not the people who spend the most time there.
right.
So
Mhm.
when you're not someone who's spending the most time there, it is very beneficial for you to be able to ask the people who are what do you need? I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of times I think people get frightened or managers get frightened and say, well, if I bring in too many people, then they're going to, have only too many opinions and I won't be able to make any decisions. But there's a
yeah,
big value in saying, you're here 40 plus hours a week. What are we
yeah,
missing? What do you need?
right. Exactly. And I've always I, so for me, some of the input that I've always put in is ownership of the building. You really, if you lease, you wanted some sort of buy-in with that, expansion on that. So if you grow, you have room. So people
Mhm.
aren't in like bunk cubes, as I call them,
Right,
sitting on laps.
right,
That's a real downturn.
right.
And just being able that they have ownership in the area,
Yeah.
as in how many times did you see a kitchen not cleaned up, and how many times have you seen uh, your workforce cleaning up the kitchen for the next person? That's a huge
Right.
incentive for people that you see that be like, all right, they're pitching in, I'm part of it. So yeah,
Right. Either that or you get one of those signs on the fridge that says, if you don't clean out your food within the next 3 days, everything's
yeah,
being thrown out.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've
we've
been
all
part of
seen
that.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your coworker at home. You have a pet owner. What do you? I have two dogs, Finley and Max. They're if I can get them not to be barking, then I let them work with me. But if they're a little hyper that day, I got to move my got to
yeah.
move my desk.
That's funny as you say that because my guy, his name is Finnegan.
Uh,
And he just looked up. He just walked by and he's drinking some water. So he's 9, and I would think at least 7 years of his life I've been working from home. So he's never been like alone by himself. And he's a sheepadoodle, so he has the poodle anxiety and the sheepdog herding instinct. And so it brings a lot of issues with that. But he's a really smart, uh, good guy. So,
a great
and
coworker.
yeah, yeah. So, he,
So
if I forget about him, he'll remind me to be like, "Hey, it's out time," or "It's
right.
hey, it's I need to eat." Yeah. So,
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate it, Matt. So thank you so much for coming on today. If any of our, listeners want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get contact with you regarding any real estate questions or things they may
oh,
want to
yeah,
inquire about?
Sure, you can call me direct.
Okay.
My cell is 267-984-7348. Again, it's Matt Grace. I'm the host of Ready for Real Estate, and that was out of the need to make sure that people are ready or prepared for this big intrusion in their life. So that's why it's called Ready. So we get you ready. It's just education in the whole gamut of things. But you can reach me directly at 267-984-7348. I'm a Philly guy, born and raised, so I could talk anything Philly with you. So
Great.
I appreciate it, Josh. This has been great. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
awesome.
the time.
Yeah, I had a great conversation, and I encourage everyone to check out the Ready for Real Estate podcast. And Matt, it was great chatting with you. And until next time.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. We will be tuning in next time, and until then, make a little bit noise quietly.
Your office isn't just where work happens. It's where culture is built, ideas are born, and teams come together. And if your workspace doesn't support the people in it, everything else becomes harder. That's where Boomerang and Common Sense Office Furniture comes in, supporting communities in Orlando, Florida, the tri-state area, and everywhere in between. Boomerang and Common Sense both specialize in high-quality office, hospitality, healthcare, and educational furniture that doesn't just look good, it performs. Whether you're furnishing a growing team, redesigning for hybrid work, or just need furniture that actually works for how people collaborate, Boomerang and Common Sense make it easy and affordable. Visit boomerangofficefurniture.com to see how the right furniture can transform the way your team works.